What if I told you there is a type of body fat that you cannot always see, cannot always feel, but is far more dangerous than the fat you can pinch with your fingers? That fat is called visceral fat, and it plays a major role in how fast we age, how sick we become, and how long we remain healthy and independent. Welcome to Think and Lose Weight, where we focus on longevity, health span, and the simple things we can all do every single day to make sure our best years are still ahead of us in our 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond. Most people think body fat is just body fat, but that couldn't be further from the truth. There are two types of main body fat in the body. The first is subcutaneous fat. This is the fat that sits just under the skin. It's the fat you can grab around your waist, hips, thighs, or arms. The second type is visceral fat. Visceral fat lives deep inside the abdominal cavity. It surrounds your internal organs, including your liver, pancreas, kidneys, and intestines. And that location is exactly what makes it so dangerous. Visceral fat is metabolically active. It behaves more like an organ than a storage site. It releases inflammatory compounds, hormones, and chemical signals that interfere with normal metabolic function. This means visceral fat directly impacts blood sugar control, insulin sensitivity, cholesterol levels, blood pressure, and hormone balance. You can look relatively lean on the outside and still be carrying a dangerous amount of visceral fat on the inside. This is why some people are blindsided by a diagnosis of insulin resistance, fatty liver disease, or cardiovascular issues despite not thinking of themselves as overweight. So, how does visceral fat develop? The biggest driver is chronically elevated insulin. Every time you eat, insulin rises. That's normal. Insulin's job is to move nutrients into cells and store excess energy. The problem occurs when insulin stays elevated all day, every day, for years at a time. Highly processed carbohydrates and sugar cause repeated insulin spikes. When insulin remains high, the body is locked into fat storage mode, and visceral fat is one of insulin's favorite storage locations. Processed foods amplify this problem. These foods are engineered to be hyperpalatable, encouraging overeating while providing very little real nutrition. They disrupt hunger and satiety signals, making it easy to consume far more calories than the body needs while remaining undernourished at the cellular level, starving. Alcohol is another major contributor. Alcohol is metabolized by the liver, and when alcohol intake is frequent, the liver becomes overwhelmed. Fat begins to accumulate around the liver and other organs, increasing visceral fat even in people who are not technically overweight. Chronic stress plays a powerful role as well. When stress levels are high, cortisol rises. Elevated cortisol tells the body to store fat, particularly in the abdominal region. This is a survival mechanism that once helped humans endure famine and danger, but today it works against us. Add poor sleep, physical inactivity, and age-related muscle loss, and visceral fat accumulation becomes almost inevitable for many people. Now let's talk about why visceral fat is so dangerous. Visceral fat is strongly linked to insulin resistance, which is the gateway to type 2 diabetes. It increases systemic inflammation, damaging blood vessels and accelerating the aging process. It raises the risk of heart disease, stroke, and high blood pressure. It disrupts hormone production, including testosterone in men, which further worsens fat gain and muscle loss. It is associated with higher risk of certain cancers, and perhaps most importantly, visceral fat dramatically shortens health span. The number of years you can live independently, move freely, and enjoy life without chronic disease. This is why focusing solely on body weight is such a mistake. Weight loss does not automatically mean fat loss. Fat loss does not automatically mean visceral fat loss. And being thin does not automatically mean being healthy. There's a condition known as normal weight obesity, where someone appears slim but carries excessive visceral fat and has poor metabolic health. The scale cannot tell you where fat is stored. It's just a number. It cannot tell you how much muscle you have, and it cannot tell you whether your metabolism is healthy. A better indicator for many people is waist circumference. An expanding waistline is often one of the earliest signs of visceral fat accumulation, even before significant weight gain occurs. So, what actually works to reduce visceral fat? The first step is lowering insulin. This means reducing processed carbohydrates and sugars and focusing on whole, nutrient-dense foods. A low carbohydrate or ketogenic style approach can be highly effective because it keeps insulin levels low and stable, allowing stored fat to be accessed and burned. Intermittent fasting is another powerful tool. By extending the time between meals, insulin levels drop and the body is forced to rely on stored energy, uses fat. This metabolic state encourages fat loss while preserving muscle when adequate protein and resistance training are included. Eating fewer meals does not slow your metabolism when done correctly. In many cases, it improves metabolic flexibility and restores the body's ability to switch between fuel sources efficiently. Resistance training is essential. Muscle is metabolically active tissue. Maintaining muscle improves insulin sensitivity, increases resting energy expenditure, and protects against age-related decline. Strength training also sends a powerful signal to the body that muscle is necessary, reducing the likelihood of muscle loss during fat loss. Cardio plays an important role as well. Consistent, moderate intensity cardio, such as walking, improves mitochondrial function and enhances the body's ability to burn fat for fuel. This type of movement also supports cardiovascular health without excessive stress or recovery demands. I'm talking about zone 2 training. Sleep is non-negotiable. Poor sleep increases insulin resistance, elevates cortisol, and disrupts appetite regulation. Even the best nutrition and exercise plan will struggle to overcome chronic sleep deprivation. Alcohol must be addressed honestly. If longevity and health span are the goal, reducing or eliminating alcohol is one of the most effective steps many people can take to reduce visceral fat. Now, tracking progress matters. Instead of obsessing over the scale, pay attention to waist measurements, how your clothes fit, energy levels, sleep quality, and performance in the gym. These markers often improve long before the scale moves and are better indicators of improving metabolic health. Another overlooked factor is consistency. Doing the right things occasionally will not produce meaningful change. Doing simple things consistently is what creates lasting metabolic health. Visceral fat does not accumulate overnight, and it does not disappear overnight. It is the result of small decisions repeated daily over years and decades, and it is reversed the same way. One of the most important things to understand is that visceral fat responds best to lifestyle change, not quick fixes. There is no supplement, pill, or short-term program that selectively removes visceral fat. What works is patience, discipline, and habits that lower insulin, reduce inflammation, and preserve muscle over time. When these fundamentals are in place, the body does what it was designed to do. Aging itself is not the enemy. Metabolic damage is. You don't suddenly become unhealthy at 50 or 60. You arrive there gradually through habits that compound over time. The good news is that the human body is remarkably capable of healing when constant insults are removed. Longevity is not about extreme routines or unrealistic physiques. It is about building a body that functions well, resists disease, and supports independence for as long as possible. Reducing visceral fat is not about appearance. It is about protecting your organs, preserving independence, and ensuring that the later decades of life are lived with strength, clarity, and vitality. Your best years do not have to be behind you. They can still be ahead of you. If you make the right choices consistently, that is what Think and Lose Weight is all about. Thank you so much for watching. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, make a comment, and let me know what you're doing to help reduce visceral fat. I'll see you on the next one.